tell him he is the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time. That's what I'm saying. You preach it, brother. Preach it. That's right. Nick Foles is the greatest Eagles. Nick Foles. Nick Foles, the greatest Eagles quarterback of all time. What? Not a chance. I'm ready to go. Then, when it's all said and done, you're gonna go to the doctor and you're gonna get a physical. You better get your prostate exam. Go get your prostate exam. No more waiting. Get it done. I'm not getting that done. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. You're 42 years old. Get it done. Look at you. Look at you. King Dingbat here, and so I gotta get into this debate, right? It's been on Twitter all over the place, and it's been on Twitter for a while, and then it's been my man Darius. Shout out to Darius, I love your channel, buddy, I love you. But, you know, he's doing videos talking about how Nick Foles is the greatest Eagles quarterback ever. I think Nigel Freak may agree to a certain point. These guys think that he's the greatest quarterback of all time, so I gotta put my 2 cents in. Nick Foles. Nick Foles, the greatest quarterback of all time. Nick Foles, the greatest quarterback of all time. Nick Foles, I'm gonna piss myself. I'm gonna piss myself. I'm gonna piss myself. I'm pissing myself. Okay. Alright, I'm ready to talk about this seriously now. Now we're going to talk about this seriously. Nick Foles is Nick Foles the great. I'm sorry. Nick Foles the greatest. I'm soaking wet in piss. I gotta go get changed. Wait. Okay, we're back. We're clean. We smell good. No urine. So let's get a little serious about this conversation now. Okay? To say Carson Wentz is not as good as Nick Foles, or Nick Foles is the greatest quarterback in Eagles history, okay? This is one of those topics that can do nothing but cause a debate, okay? It causes people to have to talk against guys that they love, okay? So I love Nick Foles. Nick Foles is an Eagle legend, forever in history, okay? Nick Foles, his place on Mount Rushmore is set. Okay? For what he did, nobody can ever take it away from him. Okay? Sometimes I think what happens is people, they confuse the love of a player that they have for greatest of all time in terms of reality. For instance, when I was younger, I used to like to debate people that Dr. J was the greatest basketball player of all time. I knew he wasn't, but he was my favorite player of all time. To this day, Dr. J is my favorite player ever to play basketball. But I'll never say he's better than Michael Jordan. I know better than that. He's not better than Michael Jordan, but he's still my favorite player. And I think what happens is people look at Nick Foles and they love him and they appreciate what he did, and he's their favorite player. And somehow that becomes the greatest quarterback in history, okay? But we can disprove whether Nick Foles is the greatest Eagles quarterback in history right now with one question. Who do you want to play next year? You have to trade one guy, Carson Wentz or Nick Foles. Who do you choose? I'll bet you 90% of you are going to say Carson Wentz. Now, if Nick Foles is truly the greatest Eagles quarterback in history, at 30 years old, you have to play him. You have to play him because he would have to be better than Carson Wentz. But he's not. Don't confuse an accomplishment with being the greatest player of all time. Okay? Now, I don't talk in Eagles' deep history because I didn't see stuff, but a lot of people would say Norm Van Brocklin is the greatest quarterback of all time. I, personally, in my lifetime, I have Randall Cunningham as the greatest quarterback in Eagles history, followed by Donovan McNabb. Now, are you going to say that, I don't know, are you going to say that Dan Marino doesn't deserve credit because he didn't win a Super Bowl and Nick Foles did? Is Nick Foles a better quarterback than Dan Marino? You understand what I'm trying to say? Just because Nick Foles won Super Bowl, it's a big accomplishment. It's a great accomplishment. And it is the biggest accomplishment of an Eagles quarterback in history. But that doesn't make him the greatest quarterback in Eagles history. He's not even better than Carson Wentz. Okay? Not even better than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, what he was doing before his injury, I think a lot of people have forgotten how great he was. How great he was. Not just on the field, but think about what he meant when they drafted him. The whole attitude, the whole idea of this team changed. Guys like Nelson Aguilar, Zach Ertz, they didn't make a mistake and dwell on it anymore. He knew how to go back to him. He knew what he was doing. What Carson Wentz did for 13 weeks built so much confidence in this team that they were able to overcome a lot. They believed in themselves. That's what Carson gave this team. Not to mention, he was having an MVP year that nobody has seen since Dan Marino. No quarterback in their second year has ever put out the numbers that he has except for Dan Marino. That's how remarkable it was. He would have been one of 3 players in NFL history. I can't remember all their names. I know one was Jim Brown. I know one was Dan Marino. And I don't remember who the other one was that won an MVP in their second year. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Carson Wentz is legit. Okay? When you compare him next to Nick Foles, in all truthfulness, he's younger. He's got a bigger arm. He's more mobile. He's stronger. He's a better athlete. And he can run any offense. Any offense you throw at him, he can run. He can run a lot more complex offenses than Nick Foles. You remember against, the Raiders and at the end of the year, Nick Foles struggled. He struggled a lot. And we were all worried about it. And he was running the same offense as Carson Wentz. So they go into the bye week, and what do? They basically watered down the offense. They shrunk the offense. They put in a bunch of RPOs. They simplified it for Foles. They made it easier. They put things in that he liked, and he started having success. Don't discount Doug Peterson's credit that he deserves for getting Nick Foles to play well, because Nick Foles played horrendous at the end of the year. And then what happened? We come out the Atlanta game. He didn't play good in the Atlanta game until the second half. He started to play okay. Okay? And then in the Minnesota game, he went off. And then in the Super Bowl, he went toe for toe with Tom Brady. Great accomplishment. He deserves all the accolades. He deserves Eagles Hall of Fame. He deserves a statue built for him. Whatever. Nick Foles deserves all that. Okay? But just because he gave you that first Super Bowl, just because he was the guy and the quarterback, doesn't make him the better quarterback right now. Okay? Because you want to win more than one Super Bowl. Okay? And you can't discount also, Nick Foles didn't play for 13 weeks. He didn't take a beating all year. He didn't go through week to week to week to week. Carson took the beatings. And Nick Foles was pretty fresh going into the playoffs and through the whole thing. That's a big important thing, because we know Nick Foles has been banged up in just as big of an injury history, really, as Carson. He missed a lot of times, too, being injured. So, just because you win a Super Bowl, it's not the everything. It's not the everything. Foles played really good in 2 games. And the one thing about Foles is, and I always knew this about Foles, is he could handle high-pressure situations. Now, these are certain games, like this championship game and Super Bowl, that Wentz is going to have to prove himself in. But the main point of this whole thing is, who do you want playing next year for you? Every single body is going to want Carson. Why do you want Carson? Because he's the better quarterback. It's that simple. It's that simple. Don't confuse great accomplishment and how much you love a guy for what he's done for being the better quarterback. It doesn't work that way. Carson is going to start next year. Carson is the franchise because he's the better quarterback. That's why he's going to play and start, and not Nick Foles. Nick Foles, I love him, but to say that he's the greatest Eagles quarterback, not even close. Not even close. And I love Nick Foles. But He's not Carson Wentz. He's not even close. So with that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.